Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Galino, and I just want to take a little time today to go over the last unit of the year for social studies, which was world religion. And we gave you five of the religions that are most followed in the world. And we had you do quite a bit of work at the end of the year. So we want to thank you. But before I do that, I wanted to not only tell you that Team G, McG and GT rule, but the reason why you guys rule. And one reason why you rule is because not only did you all start really strong in the beginning of the year and you gave it all that you had and you pushed through, but you also finished just as strong. And you know how I used Gordon Ramsay, that famous chef, how he believes that the same meal, that the first meal should be just as good and just as strong as the last meal of a long shift um, in a day. Well, the same is true about what we asked you to do. We expected you to begin the year strong, which you did, and to end just as strong. Just like Gordon Ramsay and his requirements of meals being just as good, because if you're eating a meal in the morning and maybe another family will go to the same restaurant and they're not going to eat that meal until later in the afternoon, well, you're paying the same price, so you want the same effort put into it. You want the same strength in that meal. You don't want to, just because you're coming later doesn't mean that you are getting a cheaper price for that meal. You're paying exactly the same amount. So I like to use that analogy when I teach. And I'm hoping that you guys will take that with you throughout the course of your educational career. Of course, we get tired, we get lazy, but just try to remember Gordon Ramsay and Mrs. McGowan and Miss Galino, always thinking about beginning something strong, trying your best through it, persevering, and then ending just as strong as you began. With that, I want to just go into comparing, contrasting the different religions that you researched and spent such a long time and so much effort into each one. And again, we really appreciate you ending the year strong. So, what we want you to think about, just like when you read a book, how are you going to be different now after learning what you learned? Now, this is a more complex social studies unit because it deals with world religion. And a lot of you might not even really know your religion so well yet because you're still only in fifth grade. But as you move forward through life, you have to start thinking about you could be, how you would react to another person based that has a different religious belief, we'll say. And so, with that, if you take a look, some of the things that I noticed that they do have in common is with these three religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, is that they have some important people they believe in that are the same, like Abraham and Isaac and even Moses. Some of the differences I noticed was in Christianity and Islam, they both do believe in Jesus, but in the Jewish religion, they don't. Also, another difference I noticed was in Islam, one important person is Muhammad, whereas not in Christianity or Judaism. Then, when we go down to the important writings, well, we have the Torah, which is the first five books of the Christian Bible. And then we've got, which is really interesting, which I don't know if you guys realize that, but the Bible includes the Torah. Because if you look back at Judaism, the first five books of the Christian Bible is actually the Torah. But then in Islam, the difference is their writing is the Quran. Then if you go down to some traditions, You've got in the Jewish religion, you've got the Sabbath, Passover, Yom Kippur, Hanukkah. Um, in the Christianity religion, you've got like Christmas and Easter. And then in the Islamic religion, they have Hajj. Then a couple other things that we noticed was the prayers in the Judaism, religion. They pray sometimes 3 times a day, facing Jerusalem. But if you noticed here in Islam, their prayers are 5 times a day, facing the Mecca. So that's definitely a difference. But it's a similarity too, because they both pray. Both religions do pray. So some things that these three religions, even though they're so vastly different, there are quite a lot of things they have in common. So if you ever come across someone who has a different religious belief, I want you to think about what you do have in common, and not say to yourself, "Oh, well, I have nothing in common with that person because they're Islamic, or because they're Jewish, or because they are Christian or Catholic." So here's some examples. I'm not going to read them all, but one of them is they all have a holy book. So that's something we definitely have in common. We all have rules that we live by. We all have important traditions that we believe in. We have prayer, which is part of our faith, every single one here. And let's see, another one is that all of the important people, I'm sorry, all have important people who have or are positively changing or inspiring others. That's a little confusing, that sentence, but you can read through that and think about that one. But yeah, I mean, all these people that we study in our religion do have positive and inspiring messages that we live by to help others. Then what we did was we went into Hinduism and Buddhism, and we decided that we wanted you to look into these religions, because these are a little bit different than the other three stated above. And you'll notice that Hinduism has more of a focus of important gods like Brahma, who's the creator, or Vishnu is another important god within their culture. Shiva also. But you've got in Buddhism, you have the Buddha. I think some of you have probably heard of the Buddha. And there's no way that I'm going to even pronounce the official name of the Buddha. That's why I typed it in, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Maybe you guys can look it up and try to get the correct pronunciation and let me know. Some important writings. In Hinduism, they have, sorry, because that's not my religion, so I can't say we, but the Vedas, which is writings about Hinduism. But then in the Buddhism religion, important writings is the Vinaya, which contains like procedures that govern the Buddha monks, some traditions here. In Hinduism, they have the river of the Ganges. That's a very sacred river in India, and also a very important tradition is the Vasak, which is a celebration of the birth of the actual Buddha. Then you go into Gandhi, which is a very important person in Hinduism, and the Dalai Lama here is very important in the Buddhism religion. And some interesting things that you probably have researched or learned through this is that in India, in the Hinduism culture, they have 33 million gods and goddesses. But what's really different, though, about Buddhism is they have no gods that are worshipped. Buddhism is more of like a way of living. Reincarnation, they believe in. The Buddhists believe in, one once you pass away, that you do come back, and you can come back as different forms. And that's the same with Hinduism. They believe as well in reincarnation. Um, and theirs is a little more specific because they believe that you're born in another body as a human, though, and you're going to be born in one of those castes. Whereas in Buddhism, you are recreated, but you could be in a form of maybe even an animal, not just another human. Some things that I noticed that they have in common, which I'm sure you noticed too, is they both believe in reincarnation. We just went over that. Both have people who are working to make the world a better place, and both have temples where you can go to, where they go to worship. So this is a heavy unit. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that for sure you guys put a lot of effort into it, and we really appreciate it. We just want you to think about, now that you know about these, you know a little bit about each of these religions, how are you going to live your life or think differently when you come across, maybe even when you're at Smith and you come across maybe a Saddle River kid who might be a Buddhist? How are you going to be able to become friends with someone that doesn't share the same religion as you? I'm hoping that through this, it'll educate you a bit about what they believe in compared to what you believe in. And again, there's going to be a lot of similarities, so try to look for the good in things when you meet new people when it comes to religion. So great job. Any questions, you can always reach out to us. And we just wish you a very wonderful, healthy, fun summer. And you guys are going to rule Smith next year. You're going to do fantastic. And we're always here for you, even through Smith and the high school and college and after college. I still hear from people who are like 30 something years old that I taught. Once in a while, I'll get an email, and we hope you'll do the same.